What have you been up to? How have you been keeping in touch with everyone at work? You're at Fleetwood, aren't you?
I'd probably say same methods that we're using now. Obviously, quite a few Zoom calls, WhatsApp groups as well. So you can't really get hands-on with the players, but you still got that kind of communication through text and video. So the lads, I'm sure Palace are doing the same. They've got their own individual programmes, and they're all away working hard and just waiting for the time when it does come to hopefully get back into it.
I guess it's more hard hitting for you guys a little bit further down the leagues, isn't it? For the teams in the Premier League who've got all the broadcast money already behind them. How's everyone coping at your club?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of clubs are struggling. Even the Premier League as well. I think we've seen some big teams obviously come out and have to furlough a couple of non-playing staff. They've asked teams to obviously take wage deferrals as well. So I think everyone is feeling the pinch, and I'm sure everyone is keen as everyone else to try and get things back up and running as soon as possible when obviously it's safe enough to do so.
Right, let's have a look. Let's go back in time and have a little chat through your career. I mean, looking at it, it's definitely a playing career of progression, isn't it? I mean, it's fair to say, like, you played in the Premier League for the first time when you were in your 30s, but then still played loads of games there, and then ended up playing in the Scottish Premiership really late on as well. Just take us through like a little bit about your journey before you got to Palace.
Right, God. Okay, started my career at Tranmere Rovers. Obviously played there from my debut. Left to go to Oldham Athletic under Ian Dowie. Managed to get into the playoff contentions there, but financial restrictions the following year meant I had to get sold and go to Stoke. So I managed to do 4 years at Stoke. Injury ravaged time, really. Only played 80 games in 4 seasons. Done my cruciate ankles and so on. And I was fed up, really, to be honest with you. I wasn't playing, and I felt like you need a change, because sometimes you can be at a place and you always think, I'm going to get injured or something's going to happen to me. So I needed that change. And Neil Warnock was the man who got on the phone, thankfully. Took me to Palace, which I wasn't too keen on in the first place because I just had a baby girl, my daughter. I'm a northern boy, and going to London and leave my daughter and my wife behind didn't really sit well with me. But Neil got me in front of the table, and his infectious quality that he has convinced me to sign, and it was the right decision, because with the mixture of the club, the players, and obviously the manager, I got my love back for the game. You know what I mean? And I had a thoroughly enjoyable time. It was a great club, and it got me back up and running, definitely.
Before that, because when you joined, I don't know why, in my head I saw you as a centre-back. Had you played
so did I.
So how did that transition happen to moving to left-back?
To be fair, Tony Pulis started it. He liked to play with 4 centre-backs across the back line. So obviously I was the left-footed option, so he stuck me out on the left-back, I'd say for a couple of seasons that I was at Stoke. And me being me, I just wanted to help the team out and play games, so I stuck at it. And obviously Neil Warnock took me there to Palace and decided to keep me in that same role. I think we had quite a lot of centre-backs as well. So I needed to fill a job in another position, which I was grateful to do. I just wanted to play football.
But that season that you joined, it's actually one of the most memorable games for me when I was a fan, was the last game of the season against Burnley, the 5-0 at Selhurst. I think that's one of the best atmospheres we've ever had at Selhurst. But if you look at the team lineup from that day, it's such a strong team. It's Speroni in goal, then Butterfield, Mark Hudson, Jose Font, then Sean Derry, Tom Sawes, Ben Watson, and then the front three of Victor Moses, Clinton Morrison and Scott Sinclair, all in their prime. I mean, it's a team that should have gone up through the playoffs, isn't it? Yeah. To be fair, when I joined, they were at the wrong part of the table. I think they were kind of around the relegation zone when I joined, and then we went on one hell of a run. Not saying it was me. I think you talk about the Scott Sinclairs and people like that. We just went slowly and progressively up the table,
managed to find ourselves in that kind of playoff positions and spots to be taken. And like you mentioned there, that 5-0 win towards the end of the season was something special. A bit of luck against Bristol City. Maybe things could have been different, but it's fine margins when you get in those playoff positions.
And what was it like playing with those young players at the time? Sawes and Watson were still fairly young. And Victor Moses, how good was Victor Moses then?
Oh, Victor, you could tell was going to be special. So strong on the ball. I think we played, if I remember correct, we played Man City one game, and he had Micah Richards up against him. And I've never seen anyone give him such a tough time in my life. I mean, Victor's only a small guy, but he is so strong. And he put Micah Richards on his backside a few times. I think he'd done one of those trademark flicks over his head as well. And he was a special talent. We had Sean Scannell as well. Kleiny coming through later on. Hillsy, the young left back as well, if I remember correctly. So it was a great production line of talent coming through at the time. John Bostock's another one as well. So yeah, there was a lot of young talent ready to step in when needed.
It's obviously lost to Bristol City in the playoffs, and the season after that was pretty disappointing. It was like mid-table, lower mid-table finish. How come? What went downhill after that initial season?
I think we lost a few players. I think we definitely lost Hudson, didn't we?
Yeah.
Definitely lost Mark Hudson. Definitely lost a few key players in the squad. And at the time, I don't know the full financial stuff behind the scenes, but I don't think the chairman at the time was ready to kind of put that money in again. We had a lot of young players as well who maybe could step in at the right time, and maybe they thought we could blood them through with a sell-on maybe after a few games or a few seasons. It was a disappointing season because you come so close to maybe getting into the final. It doesn't happen. You lose a few key players. Your recruitment's very, very key as well. It just kind of sunk into a nothing mid-table season, really, unfortunately.
But then the season after that, when the team went into admin, in a pretty good position, but Warnock, he'd really built a team of characters, hadn't he? We spoke to Darren Ambrose the other day, and he said it's the favourite team he's ever played in his career, because of the likes of the guys in the team like you, Sean Derry, Danny Butterfield, Paddy McCarthy. It's just a whole bunch of strong characters. Yeah,
it was a great squad. Like you said there, I touched base. When you sent me that text the other day, I made contact with a few of the lads, and we all said the same thing. We all said that there's not many teams and not many players who can come through a 10-point deficit and stay alive and stay in the league. That takes a certain bond, a certain characteristic in a player to come through that adversity. And lucky enough, we had that in abundance at the time.
So did the games become different? Because before the points deduction, you're playing to try and get in the playoffs, and then suddenly you're in a relegation battle. So are you then having to play games like you're in a relegation battle, even though you know that you're better than that?
Yeah, I think it's a shock really, because obviously we're going up to Newcastle, I think, on the plane, and we've touched down in the airport. Obviously everyone switches the phones back on, and everyone's phones were going mad. There were text messages, there was phone calls, and we were like, wow, what's happening here? There's something gone off in the world that we're not aware of, or whatever. And then the realisation was that we were a 10-point deficit, but that didn't go into the table till I think about a week later. So you go to Newcastle, you're still sitting quite high in the league. It's not quite sunk in, and then it gets sunk in when it hits it, and you look at the league table and you go, oh my God, look at this here now. And all of a sudden it becomes a survival battle more than a promotion battle. But like I said, we were very lucky that we had the characters in the team that could take that adversity and use it as a fuel to get the job done.
What was it like for you all when Neil Warnock left?
Tough obviously, because he brought me to the club. He's an infectious manager. He's one of the best I've worked for. And he give you a lot of responsibility, a lot of trust, and there's not many managers that will give you that. So we were devastated, but obviously he had his own future to sort out. He didn't know which way the club was going at the time. and he decided to take the option of going to QPR. And I think Paul Hart came in then, didn't he, with Dougie and a few others. And kind of just galvanised us again. As a group of lads, we got together. We decided to make this song our kind of go-to feature before games. So it's just to do the rally call before the kickoff. And lucky enough, it all gelled together.
And going into that Sheffield Wednesday game, how did you feel before it? Is it a tough one knowing that you need a draw? Because if you need a win, you play differently, don't you?
Yeah, it is strange. Obviously, you're prepared to win. You want to win every game. But then you've got this little kind of backup in your head going, well, as long as we don't lose, we'll be all right. So it's a balancing situation. I mean, I can remember I was travelling up the day before on the train. There was no seats left on the train for any of the players. So we were all sitting on our bags near toilets and in the corridors. And we think, we've got the biggest game of our life tomorrow. What's going on here? And then obviously the night before, it's kind of all that apprehension. It's a big game, full house, big team to play against as well. But is it a game I enjoyed playing? No, definitely not. Definitely not. I couldn't find any enjoyment until the final whistle.
No, it was pretty tense towards the end, wasn't it? Darren Ambrose got one of the goals there. How good was Darren Ambrose that season? And why do you think Warnock got the best out of him?
I just think he's a special player. You need to give him the ball in the right areas because, as we've seen throughout his career, he can pull off something special. And they're going through my career. They're the players that make the difference. You know, they're the ones that can turn a tight game into 3 points instead of a point or a loss. And he was very, very key. Part of our team, and he scored important goals at the right times. Like you just mentioned there, the Sheffield Wednesday one was massive for us at the time.
Actually, going back in time a bit before we get back to Hillsborough, I forgot to mention Danny Butterfield's hat-trick. What have you got to say about that?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable scenes. How Neil Warnock decided to play him where he played him, I don't know. But it was like a kid in a sweet shop, wasn't he, Danny? I mean, it was the perfect hat-trick as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was right foot, left foot header, yeah.
Right foot, left foot, header. Unbelievable. It was just fantastic. Great lad. Infectious character in the dressing room. And I think if you just look at his face when the third goal's in, he can't quite believe it himself, you know. And it's a proud moment for him, and it's one that you look back on and go, yeah, hey, if anyone deserved a hat-trick, he's a great kid.
Well, let's talk about the game at Hillsborough, but after it, because I think what you're most famous for in the game is just after the final whistle. Can you just tell it, because the cameras don't capture everything. I mean, you're missing amongst, it looks like about 1,000 Sheffield Wednesday fans, and then you appear. What happened?
Yes, obviously the whistle's gone and we're delighted. We start hugging each other. I've got a few friends that I've played with in the Sheffield Wednesday team, so they're down, they're devastated, they're on the floor. So I decided to go and see a few of them and just say, listen, keep going, all the best. And by this time, obviously loads of fans are on the pitch. I start making my way over to the away end, which was just full. It was a great scene, thinking all the lads would be there, celebrating. I get there, there's a few fans obviously dancing around me, looking a little bit angry, and I'm thinking, well, this could get tasty. So I just get to the away end, start taking my top off, my boots off, just thanking the fans for making the journey and just showing how delighted we were for doing the job, you know, because it was a difficult time and you have all this pressure on you through the year. You just want to release it. And all that came out. Then a steward comes to me and says, I don't think you've made the right decision here, son, because we've got to go back through all that and into the tunnel. And I've gone, oh, for God's sake, you're kidding me. Just me and you. He goes, yeah. I've gone, oh, God. So I've turned around and there's a police cordon from one side to the other. So I'm thinking, oh, the police will help me. Surely they'll help me get into the tunnel. But they've just gone like that. Go on, you're on your own. See you later. And I've gone through. And you don't realise until you see the videos what kind of situation you put yourself in, you know what I mean? So I've got to thank the steward as well, because he just took me under his arm, and to be fair, I don't know how many kicks and punches he took as well, to be honest with you. But yeah, it was lively. It was definitely lively.
So did you actually get hit by some of them then?
Yeah, there was a few kicks. Definitely got spat on a few times. There's a few haymakers that missed me, thankfully. But because you're full of elation and like there's a euphoria over you for getting the job done, you felt like you could have took the world on, to be honest with you. I didn't feel any kind of panic or any sense of emergency. I just wanted to get back into, obviously, the dressing room with the lads and celebrate. I think big Claude Davis came out of the tunnel at the right time as well to help me in. That's always thankful when the big man comes out. But yeah, strange scenes watching it back. And I had a few police interviews after it as well, trying to prosecute people, but there's not much you could do. You know what I mean? I didn't know anyone or any faces at the time.
What I love about the camera angle is that it goes from you, angry, swinging your arms, all these fans trying to follow you down the tunnel, and the police there with batons, and then it cuts to the dressing room and you're just jumping up and down like nothing happened with the players. Like Darren said that he had no idea.
I don't know when the camera's on the tunnel. Quite a lot of fans are trying to get up that tunnel at the time, aren't they? I didn't even realise that.
No, did I?
You said there, the police obviously get involved, the stewards get involved, and they start clubbing a few. But I'm just up the tunnel away, beer in hand, and we're off. We're singing. And then we walked 500 miles.
Yeah, and then you drove about 500 miles. But you were you one of the ones at the service station on the way back that bumped into the fans?
No, I had to go home, so I made my own way home. It's something I look back on and go, I wish I did. I wish I shared that journey back home with the lads down to London. But at the time, I knew my time was coming up at Palace. So 2 or 3 months before the season finished, I actually moved into Paddy McCarthy's swimming pool room at the back of his garden. He had a nice little room with TVs and a bed and a little kitchen. And that's where I lived for the final 2 or 3 months of my career at Palace. So after the Sheffield Wednesday game, I decided to go home to the Wirral. And there were some unbelievable scenes when the lads were in the toilets and the singing, and it was really good to see.
Is it quite sad in a way that a team that had such a close bond, such a load of characters, it pretty much fell apart over that summer because of the club going into administration?
Yeah. I mean, so from my point of view, it was I kind of knew my time was up. So obviously I made my way home, and you think, right, okay, we kept the club in the Championship. We've done a good job. They'll kick on and they'll move on. But then you realise that you don't realise how close the club was close to going under, because the fans had to march on the banks and kick up a big melee just to get the club organised, and you don't realise how close it was to going under at the time. Because as a player, you just think, right, okay, we've stayed in the champ, we've done our job. The club can move on and kick on, but it took a while from that moment to obviously where it is now is a fantastic achievement.
Yeah, I guess where we are now, because you moved on to QPR, was that an opportunity missed there for QPR, just not staying in the Premier League long enough and maybe buying too many players at once and losing the core characters?
Yeah, no, I've been very vocal on that in previous interviews. I think the club got it wrong in terms of the long-term sustainability of staying in the Premier League. I think you've got to keep a core group of players that went on that journey with you. They have that understanding of the club. And I think we got away with it the first year, where we managed to survive with the Aguero goal the last minute. But then from then on, for the next year or 2 years, it just went too far. It went too far. There was too many egos, too many people who didn't know the club, who were just there for the money, and too many good people leaving. So it was a recipe for disaster, to be honest with you.
And how was the experience of playing at Rangers? That must have been incredible, playing in Old Firm Derby at the end of your career.
So, I mean, I'm 37 years old. I've just been released by QPR. I'm on holiday. And you're in that kind of moment of who's going to want you, really. You're 37. You're not kind of looked on favourably when you're that age as a footballer. So I was kind of in two in two minds whether to see what was going to happen or just call it a day. Then Glasgow Rangers, out of nowhere, literally nowhere, came on the phone, and I was like, yeah, bang, let's get this done. Let's get this done quick, because it's a massive club in world football. Obviously, it's had its dark times. It's a massive, massive institution, and something you don't realise how big it is until you step in there and you play football for it.
We mentioned a lot of the young players that are coming through. You were at the club when Wilfried Zaha made his debut. He probably only played a substitute appearance maybe when you were there, but were you aware of his talent when you were in the first team?
Yeah, I mean, even just during through first team training, the young lads would join in every now and then. You know, like you said, we've had the Victors, we had the Scannells, Nathaniel Kleins, we had Hillsy and people like that, Bostock. So they join in every now and then, and you'd see how good these players are. And then obviously Wilf came in, and you could tell he was something special. He was something special. The way the way he held the ball, the way he held himself personally, the balance he had. He never looked rushed. Everything was really considerate. He knew what he was going to do with the ball, maybe 2 or 3 steps before anyone else. So you knew he was going to be a special talent. I didn't get the chance to play with him a lot, but the little things you did see, you knew he was going to the top. I managed to play against him a few times as well, QPR v Palace. It was always a tough game. You knew you were in for a battle with him, and you didn't really want to give him the time and space to get running at you, because he is something special when he does that.
And just looking to the future now for you, assistant manager, what have you got any long-term plans at all? Would you like to manage yourself one day, or are you very happy in that role?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still young in terms of coaching. I mean, I'm only into my second year really, so we're in a good place at the moment. We're in a great football club, real good facilities. We were doing really well until this difficult time. I think we found ourselves in 5th place with a chance of maybe going up automatically. So we're keen to get back like everyone else. We've got 9 games to go, and if we do carry on in the form that we showed towards the end, then hopefully we've got a great chance. Progression-wise for me is just to keep doing what I'm doing at the moment and just see what happens and where it takes me. I'm enjoying my job. I'm enjoying being assistant manager to Joey, who's taken to the job unbelievably well, and he's got a bright future. So yeah, let's continue the hard work and see how we get on.
Cool. Well, look, fingers crossed we can get back up and running in the next couple of months, and you can get promotion. But thanks so much for giving me your time. Enjoy the rest of lockdown, being a teacher or whatever you're doing.
Definitely. Chris, thanks very much, mate. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Clint. Speak soon.
Take care.
Cheers. Bye.
Good luck.